It's not like we've not talked about this guy before. I mean, really. It's Marty Friedman. We've discussed him a lot. We did a whole Megadeth discography, and I talked about how Rust in Peace is my #1 album of all time. So we've definitely at least spent some time talking about this gentleman. Now, of course, after his dismissal from Megadeth, he decided to go off on his own in a new land, the land of Japan, where he does a lot over there as far as publication, as far as work with music, and still releasing some studio albums as a solo artist. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about his new album entitled Inferno. And my voice breaks a little, mainly because of something that is within this album that is pretty ridiculous. It's pretty awesome. This is 12 tracks in length, and the tracks all vary in size and scope. There's, moments where we're talking not any more than 2 minutes in length, where others may come close to 7. But whenever you consider it, you would think that this would be mainly instrumental music, which is absolutely correct. But the minute that you start Inferno, you start to immediately hear that Marty tone that we've known and loved for so long. And his evolution as an artist has certainly been in the fact that his scope now can be really divided between both metal music or music of a very, heavier persuasion to really dedicating his craft to, pop and jazz and a little bit of blues. Really, his scope has expanded so much that it really makes every album that he puts out an experience. And the noted guest musicians certainly aid in that in the way in which it shapes the tracks in which they are on. The first great example is track number 3, which features Rodrigo y Gabriela. Now, these guys both play acoustic guitars. They are very, very popular, except for here in the States, which is a shame because their works are absolutely intense. It's very, very cool stuff. I would highly recommend their album 1111. This track is definitely nice in the fact that it blends Marty's electric guitar over their dueling acoustics, and really, whenever they all come together in harmony, it is something to behold. Really, really enjoy this a lot. Now, whenever we get to Steroid Head, the very next track, we have Keshav Bar on this from the band Sky Harbor, who released their debut album a couple of years ago in 2012, in which Marty Friedman did a guest solo on. This is another great track and really showcases that there's a side of Marty that really has just this thirst and yearning to aid other artists and be on other artists' works. He's done some work with Tourniquet also on their 2012 album and an album of theirs previous that just isn't coming to mind right now. He's definitely prone to do some guest work every so often. I mean, he's now over 50 years old, so Marty basically is at that stage of his career where he can do whatever the fuck he wants, and it really doesn't matter. Now, whenever you move on, you also hear great artists such as Danko Jones, which is a Canadian rock band. You actually hear the whole band because there's a little bit of backing in the background, but the principal one that you're going to note, especially if you are a fan of the band, is going to be Danko Jones' trademark voice. We also have Jorgen Munkby, who's a member of the jazz band Shining, not, the suicidal black metal one. We're talking, black jazz. We're talking the crazy, crazy motherfucker that just bends minds with his music, with his, molding of jazz music into something that has a very metallic property, to the point that these guys are extensively covered on heavy metal websites, and with good reason, because this music is certainly crazy. It certainly has all of the elements of what the expansive universe of heavy metal is all about, even if it's something that's incorporating more of a jazz tone to it. I mean, take a look at what Serj Tankian did last year, and that's something that really showcases the wide breadth, and why metal fans tend to be extremely well-cultured and well-versed whenever it comes to various other styles of music as well, as long as they're willing to explore. That's why the musical exploration video, I feel, is so important, and I feel is a message that just a lot of people don't want to hear. David Davidson from Revocation makes a stint here on this album as well. The same can be said about Greg Bisioni and Tony Franklin. Now, these guys, they did some work with some different bands, such as David Lee Roth and Joe Satriani in Greg's case. But in Tony's case, he's most recently done some work with Kenny Wayne Shepherd, which is just awesome because Kenny is just a phenomenal blues artist. He has been since the 90s. And yeah, if you kind of lost sight of him and thought that he's not doing anything, all of that great, yeah, he is. He's still putting out albums, and he's still kicking ass. He just had one come out here in 2014. And then finally, on this track Horrors, the track with Tony Franklin and Greg was known as Undertow, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Horrors was co-written by Jason Becker. Now, if that name doesn't ring a bell, put on your thinking caps and think of Cacophony. think about what Marty Friedman was doing before he was with Megadeth, and he was doing fantastic albums, two of them, Speed Metal Symphony and Go Off with Cacophony with Jason Becker, and these are just phenomenal works, and Horrors really showcases why that they were, because there's just a building dynasty between these two. This song is very masterfully co-written. It has, some furious soloing in it, but at the same time, there is an acoustic drop-off near the middle portion of this track that just is haunting. Really, Horrors was the perfect title for this song, because near the middle, and especially drawing toward its conclusion, you certainly get that feel. You certainly understand where that the whole thought process and the writing process was coming from. And if you have the time, read about Jason Becker, and you kind of understand why he has all the license in the world to really write a song or co-write a song with such a title. Because the man has certainly lived a life, and I mean he's lived it. But let's go back to Undertow shortly. I mean, this is not one that's necessarily containing two musicians that everybody and their mother has heard of, but why do I mention this one? It's probably because the combination of those two individuals, one being a percussionist and the other being more of a bass/guitar, basically he's an extraordinaire whenever it comes to that, is the fact of how well this co-merges with what Marty Friedman has done with this song. This is one of the most beautiful tracks that you're going to hear on this album. This is one that has the potential to bring tears to your eyes based around its beauty. It's completely instrumental, so that's one of the main reasons why it's so easy to do that. There's no lyrics here to necessarily provoke the reaction, but instead, it's all pure music. And sometimes pure music has a better capability and a better chance of making emotions flow from you than ones that have lyrics, even if the lyrics are truly poignant. Poignant lyricism has got the opportunity to make you cry, but if the backing music doesn't suit it, like if you have great lyrics but it's being backed by crap, you're not going to want to be emotional to it, you're not going to be happy to it, it's not going to exactly have the intended purpose. But in this case, it has the intended purpose without lyricism. And man, this is certainly a track that I've shared with people. This is certainly one that anybody who's a guitar player really needs to listen to and really take some notes, because Marty masters the real trait of emotional and soulful playing. And that's something that he's made very, very poignant and a huge case for the last decade at least. A lot of his solo work definitely has a lot of the soul that he had in Megadeth, but it was done in a different fashion, and probably not the fashion that he necessarily would have liked at all times. Overall, this album is a really, really solid listen from front to back. I really enjoyed this disc for the diversity, and I also love the fact that they brought so many different people on board. I forgot to mention Alexi Leo, actually, from Children of Bodom. He does a track, who also is joined by Danko Jones once again on that one. And that one's pretty crazy also. I mean, Alexei is always able to add in some really neat effects to his guitars and stuff like that, and hearing him play with Marty is kind of a dream matchup, so to speak. So to hear those two shred together is certainly pretty awesome. But this album's consistency is certainly in the fact that it has enough variety to it that it's just so much fun to listen to from front to back. And also, this is a good opportunity to really expand your horizons and listen to some new musicians. If you really enjoyed what you heard on the track that featured, for example, Jorgen Munkelby, then definitely check out Shining. If you definitely dug Keshav Ohar's contribution, then check out Sky Harbor. If you enjoyed that soft acoustic guitar on the track with Rodrigo and Gabriella, then you should definitely check them out. This is a great way to gateway yourself into some other artists based around what you heard them do with Marty Friedman, and I think that that's a great way to be, I think it's a great testimony to how much he feels that these individuals really should have your attention, based around the fact that he already has your attention. Doing these tracks with friends definitely has helped embolden horizons, and it's something that happened for me with Metallica whenever they did Garage Incorporated, and incorporated a lot of old tracks from other people. I know it's not the same thing, but based around that, my metal journey expanded by horizons. Now this is something that could easily happen once again for many of you with Marty Friedman's Inferno. Since this is largely an instrumental album, I feel almost guilty giving it any sort of score to it, because I just feel that this is an album that should stand on its own and really be recognized for what it is, and that's the fact that it's just a terrific, terrific album. It's one that certainly celebrates music in a way, in a style, in a format that is really kind of rare, and this is one that also brings a lot of people together to really help out and really drive the point home. So I'm actually not going to give this one a score. I'm actually just going to tell you to go out and get it. This is certainly one that I recommend, and I think that you'll enjoy it if you do pick it up. For those of you who've already listened to it or have heard some snippets, what are your favorite tracks, or what's your favorite solo from Marty Friedman? Let me know in the comments below, and maybe we'll share some things in common. Till then, I'll talk to you guys next time. Be sure to check out the official Cover Killer Nation blog, the Facebook page, and the Twitter. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please, let's be friends. I enjoy these. I enjoy you. You enjoy me, hopefully. If you don't, then that might complicate things, but who cares? Do it anyway. I'll see you later.